Well, Israel affairs analyst and adjunct fellow at the Washington Institute, Neri Zilber, joins us now live from Tel Aviv. Good to see you, Neri. Tell us, why is Netanyahu and also his government taking on the Supreme Court, the judicial system itself?
So there are two reasons, confluence of interests. Number one, the clear interest by Netanyahu himself personally is to stop the ongoing corruption trial against him. For that, he needs a wide variety of structural reforms, not only to the Supreme Court, but likely the next step will be going after the Attorney General position. Once the Attorney General is either weakened or replaced, the new person may bring a halt to the ongoing corruption trial against Netanyahu. And then the other side of the spectrum, Netanyahu's coalition partners on the right and the far right have long-standing ideological opposition to the Israeli Supreme Court and the various legal advisors and Attorney General. They see these judicial institutions as a break and as a buffer against their ideological goals, such as expanding West Bank settlements in the occupied territories and other steps that they would like to take without the hindrance of the judicial officials stopping them.
Neri, you've explained it so well. Thank you very much indeed. And fascinating also to see that this is the very same judiciary that is trying to prosecute the Prime Minister right now too. And we've seen there also some of the reaction from Israelis. And we heard Benny Gantz saying that the government's plans for judicial reform would lead to civil war in Israel. Is that an exaggeration? I mean, how angry are people right now? What would be the impact if Netanyahu and his coalition do get their way?
So people are quite angry. At least half the country, likely more, is quite concerned and worried about these steps likely to pass in Parliament in the coming weeks. So very, very soon. We're not quite there in terms of civil war, but we are there in terms of both possible mass civil unrest, demonstrations, and perhaps even a general strike in the private sector, which has never happened in Israeli Jewish society, best as I can tell, before. And really, before we get to that, constitutional crisis is more than likely between the Supreme Court and Parliament and the government. Perhaps other institutions also will likely reject and object to these steps that the Netanyahu government is likely to take. And so before we see any of that, constitutional crisis, unlike anything Israel has seen before, the gravest constitutional crisis.
Indeed. And no, where is the West's objections? Where's the condemnation? Where is any reaction? I haven't really seen much coming or anything at all.
That's a great question. The response from outside of Israel, especially in European capitals and especially in Washington, has been muted. I also haven't seen any condemnation or issuing of declarations of concern with regard to what at least the Biden administration and other
And just
European
very quickly, sorry to jump in, why is the West so silent on Netanyahu's grand judicial plans, the reform?
They view it for now, I believe, as a domestic Israeli concern. I think that's probably short-sighted because as many people here are declaring, these institutional and constitutional reforms will have knock-on effects on issues of great concern to Western governments, such as settlement expansion in the West Bank, treatment of minorities, especially Palestinians, both inside Israel and the occupied territories. But you're right, we have not yet seen clear-cut condemnations or at least issuing of concern to push back against the Netanyahu government's very clear and very proclaimed plans.
Neri Zilber, great to speak to you and get your analysis. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.